Hey y'all, I have some scattered thoughts about astrology for this week, so I'm just gonna share them. On Monday, there was a Libra full moon, also known as the flower moon, being the full moon in the month of May. And that is the name that is used by some of the Algonquian people and the Lenape people, but that is a very big generalization. But it is typically the moon in the month of May, and it typically coincides with like the peak of spring. I'm talking all the perennials. I'm talking all the plants that was asleep for the winter. I'm talking about all the ones that you see in like churches in the Northeast around Easter time, the ones from Mother Day sales, right? I also wonder how Mother's Day did this year with that. Put a pin in that. But yeah, it's typically the time of year where like the spring is in full bloom. Think like Persephone returning type of like, this is spring. The things are awakening, like this is her. She defrosted. And what's interesting is that this year the Libra full moon came right on time, but like right before the Taurus, sun entering Taurus. And so what makes it just crazy is how they're like back to back, because a full moon in Libra means that the sun is in Aries, and so that Aries energy that we had this year, like that's still going on, and we've got it for a couple more days. And what's definitely just interesting one about this part of the zodiacal rotation is that, right, like we don't leave our first house of self without experiencing some type of emotional connection with the seventh house of other. So our first house is Aries. First house being Aries, first house is related to you, yourself, who you are on this journey in life. Who you are. And the seventh house is the house of relationships, who we are in like one-on-one partnerships with. Across from us, it typically signifies like our partners, whether that be spouse or whatever. And so for me, just the idea that this first house of self is directly opposite the house of relationships and others, it's just a key reminder of how integral communities and relationships are. And the sign of Libra is also a wild sign, because it is the only inanimate object. And it's the only inanimate thing that's a sign, right? Like there's definitely bulls and water bearers, right? And scorpions, right? Like all those things are living, even if they're mythological, right? And except for the scales of balance. And so for us to be reminded in the springtime that it's not just about us, it's also about those around us, is just how crazy all the things that work together are. and how they're all in balance with each other. Lately, a conversation about community has been coming up, and so I take from that this is a little bit what it's about. This delayed bloom of the flower moon, and it's a great reminder that, you know, flowers don't bloom for themselves and just for the beauty of it. Now, granted, it is beautiful. Flowers are lovely. Everything is in its own way lovely, but they don't do it for them. And I literally just saw a bee leave one of these flowers down here, and I'm reminded that that flower is producing pollen, to produce more flowers, but for the bees to have something, for the fruits that those eventual flowers will bear, and they've got to go through a transformation to get that flower out. The mountain doesn't just stand tall to be a mountain. I don't know why it stands tall, but it do. Same thing with the trees. And so with this extra couple of days in this Aries energy of who we are, kind of just invite you to take a look at who you are in relation to relations with other people, things, society, community. Bro, the lady that lives next door to you, and make sure you're being intentional about it, right? If you kind of just walk across into tourist season, I think crazy in the sense of like, I think it's a wild thing now that I'm aware of it, right? Of what comes next with Taurus, and really getting grounded and putting your stakes in the ground of where you stand and where you're going from here. I think it's important that we leave this Aries energy knowing who we are, knowing who's around us, knowing what we want, knowing what we don't want anymore, and being okay with letting it go. Whatever this coming energy is, you need to know who you are. You need to know where you stand with people, with places, with things. I ain't here to yuck nobody's yum. Just know where you stand. We're all running our own individual races, right? But we're running them together. We're here together. And sometimes you just need to recalibrate. Am I running with the right people? Am I even running with myself? Because I'm trying to run this way, but my thoughts and habits are still that way. It's one of those things where you gotta pick a side. You gotta know what you stand for. And as we get to these summer months, it's just gonna be important. We're gonna see why, but it's gonna be important. All right, these were my scattered thoughts for the Libra full moon. A little late, but you still got time. It's like 10 more days in this Libra energy to understand where we're heading. There's still time to know where you're heading. And I'm calling it Libra energy because that was the full moon of it, but you know, also that Aries energy, that first house energy. And yeah, it's important that you know that, and it's also just really important that you take the time not to rush. It's so important that nature itself doesn't rush, yet everything is accomplished. The fact that we just started to get rain in the northeast maybe like 2-3 weeks ago, you know, kind of when the new moon hit Aries. Crazy cycle that's delayed this year. Not delayed, it just came later. It came later on the Gregorian calendar. But it's just crazy that even with the planets shifting, how Mother Earth is just still doing her thing, right? Like, I went for this hike at the end of April, and I'm expecting like budding, seeing green out of the ground, out of the trees. I may not have seen a full flower that day and it would have been okay, but I was going to see some green. And we were doing this hike, and I wasn't really seeing no green. And it was interesting that at the end of the hike, the instructor then you know, we're talking about it and debriefing a little bit about our hiking journey. And she's like, you know, it was hard to see, but I was seeing those buds come through. And I was like, dang, I was looking so hard. I didn't see them because I was trying to force them to be on my timeline. I was literally trying to force them to be in my field of vision and not appreciating that each of those seeds that were planted were doing their own thing in their own time, not my time. And I'm sure I could have gone back and watered and hydrated those plants if I wanted to, right? But those plants and trees and animals in that reservation mountain are doing their own thing. So I invite you to do your own thing and bloom. And I gotta be honest, it's also not gonna be you blooming when you're ready. Dang, some of that's probably hard to hear. My bad, y'all. It's not about blooming when you're ready always. Conditions gotta be right sometimes. But it is about trusting the process, letting go. I saw some robin eggs here on my walk today. They're these small little blue eggs. One, no idea, because they were in the street, right? So crazy, but it was like a hardly broken out shell. But that reminds me that, you know, it's coming of time for birds to be blooming in season. And I saw some geese today. Geese are crazy. But they had like 10 little baby ducklings. Geeslings? Geesling? And at some point, them little babies is gonna grow up. But those little babies ain't gonna be in charge of planning migration for this year. That's not their role. right now in the spring season, it's important, I guess, to know our roles too, of like what we provide to ourselves and the community. I guess in a way, like, what are you bringing to the table? Maybe. In a sense of like, yeah, what are you bringing to the table when we're measuring ourselves on the friendship scale, right? Because it's not going to be different, but it does need to be of equal value. And it's also interesting because I'm starting a lot of new things right now, and the hardest part about starting something new is being new. One, because you're conscious that you're a beginner. When you're a kid and you're trying new things, everyone's new. Some people may be a little bit more naturally gifted and talented than others, but like, we all starting at the same place. I feel like as I'm getting older, starting something new isn't harder, but once you get past that like novice phase and into like, oh shit, like, am I gonna get better at this? I'm gonna put more time and effort into this, or like, I'm just being I. And even though I'm trying something new, I gotta put in the work for it. And putting in that work, honoring those commitments to myself, honoring the commitments to others, that's important. So even though, you know, nature blooms in its own time, it still does it because it still has a job to do. Even though your blooming may be different, we still do it because we have a job to do. Even if in your head you think the job is not, it's not a job though, that puts capitalism into this, and this ain't capitalism, but it's your role here, right? All the world's a stage, and we're merely all actresses and actors with our entrances and exits and laughs and then our goodbyes. But it's also so lovely that all the world's a stage and we have roles to play. And so in these next couple of weeks, as we gear up for summertime, yeah, I think it's important to know your role. Know who you are in your groups, your community, what they mean to you, what you mean to them. I think it's important that we be honest about what we can offer and can't. What Issa Rae say? She says she an inconsiderate friend. I don't think I'm an inconsiderate friend, but I know I got some things that, you know, I ain't the greatest at either. That I am a not blank friend. I know there are things that I am a not this friend. And that's okay. But I gotta be honest with that. I don't need to be over-promising people, especially new friends, what I don't even really be over-promising, but that's a whole nother time, scattered rabbit hole. But at the end of the day, right, like, being honest about what I can commit to, being honest about, you know, your intentions, I guess, to an extent, not that, but like being honest about like what you have to offer to people and what you're willing to receive, what help you need, and like recognizing that it's important to show up even if it ain't the thing that you want to do that day. We're all living life in whatever weird capacity we're doing it, and it's just important that as we have ourselves and, you know, as we kind of fight through this individualization of community and livelihood and stuff, but they really have us thinking is how we should live in this society. It's not it. And so my brain's going so many places, but in terms of the Libra full moon, these are my scattered thoughts. I am excited to share more of my scattered thoughts. Astrology has been just grounding, crazy grounding, but it has been, it's just been a lovely way, even heartbreaking way, to understand how things shift in relationship with each other, or even just being able to communicate how things in life are going with some shared language. So best of luck in this flower moon. That's gonna last all the way until June. And you know, it's gonna be a listen, this year, what's happening outside ain't happening on the calendar. I don't know how else to tell you. Like, this is low-key spring break this week, like, which is crazy because it aligns with Memorial Day weekend. So if you are off over this week or in the week after, you're actually celebrating spring break. So shout out to you. I hope you enjoy and have a fantastic day. Have a fantastic time. But let's enjoy the height of the bloom, y'all. We put in work during the winter months. The seeds of what you planted then are coming to fruition. You do what you say you was gonna do? Did you find yourself being kinder to yourself? Are you still heading in the right direction? Let me know. But yeah, this has just been my scattered thoughts. Till next time, bye.